And now the Supreme Court has cautioned lecturer at the University of Ghana and member of the NDC, Professor Kpessa, to desist from making comments that denigrate the court. This warning was given after a 5-member panel of the court convicted Professor Whyte of the offences of contempt of court. This case bordered on a series of tweets made by Professor Whyte on May 19. He was asked to appear before the court to show cause why he should not be cited for contempt for scandalizing the Supreme Court, bringing into ridicule the dignity, respect and stature of the court and inciting prejudice against the members of the bench. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
Professor Whyte was accompanied to court by some senior officials of the NDC, including former CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, Sylvester Mensah. When the case was called, Professor Whyte was asked to indicate whether he accepts a plea of guilty or not guilty. Initially, he informed the court he was not guilty. He later informed the court again that he was guilty with explanation. When he was asked by presiding judge Mariam Owusu to state his plea in clear terms, he responded that he was guilty. It was at that point that his lawyers, led by Dr. Justice Sai, informed the court that as far as they are concerned, this is a matter for which he had admitted to the offense and has proceeded to render an apology even before appearing in court. They did point out that, in fact, he had caused the publication to be made in the Ghanaian Times on its front page, apologizing to the court before even showing up. And so on that basis, they urged the court that it tampers justice with mercy and does not impose a harsh sentence on Professor Whyte, especially because of the conduct which, as they believe, purges him of contempt. The court went for recess for about 30 minutes and returned with the announcement that its conclusion was to the effect that he is cautioned and discharged. Justice Mariam Owusu, who presided over the proceedings, did make the point that Professor Whyte has quite a following, and so it was important that whatever comments he makes, he is mindful of them. She did indicate that even under the said publications that were made, the court realized that there were a series of comments that were essentially comments that people were attacking the court because they had been led into that temptation to carry out such attacks by virtue of the comments that Professor Whyte put on social media. Professor Mensah, a justice of the Supreme Court, pointed out that as a full professor of Legon herself, she knows that Professor Whyte, being an associate professor, is not any mean feat, and so it's one that is very valuable and it's an individual that is highly respected, and so he is expected to lead society in a certain direction, and so they expect him going forward not to engage in such a conduct. After proceedings, he was accompanied by his colleagues who had joined him here, and they simply said that they were happy that the court had reached this particular conclusion.
So we thank the court. Thank you so much, and the media. Thank you. We just want to thank you. Thank you, and God bless you for your cooperation. Amen.
And so that is the end of the matter by way of this particular case against Professor Kpessa Whyte. For joining us on the Supreme Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
And here the studios and blessings are wrapping up the polls here on the Joy News channel. We still have a lot more coming your way. Please stay.